Coming up today on Locked On at Texas Tech, it's go time.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And thanks as always for making us your first listen. Today's episode brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. It fixes tired fast with zero sugar and a convenient portable size. It's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. So go to 5hourenergy.com and use our promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. Offer only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you. Wrapping up a week, wrapping up an off season as Texas Tech is set to kick off their 2024 campaign. Coming up Saturday night from Jones Stadium, it's Abalene Christian, fitting the description of the first potential victim. And Chris, fresh off the heels of the inaugural, for 2024 at least, Joey McGuire radio show, always look forward to hearing some thoughts as to what came about during your conversation with not only Coach McGuire, but a few other Red Raider dignitaries. But I imagine Coach McGuire and all Red Raiders out there, just like we are, kind of chomping at the bit, trying to bide their time, remain patient, because we know that kickoff is just right around the corner.
Yeah, you want me to start spilling it, and just start shooting from the hip here on how it was last night at Rudy's Barbecue. Yeah, this is, we had Big 12 media days. You have Texas Tech media day. You have all these little, things that have to happen before you can get to a season, and we're getting closer to where there's not really anything left to check off before the season begins. But the Joey McGuire radio show is one of those, which is always two days, I guess, before the first game and everything like that. And we participated with that last night. Full house there at Rudy's Barbecue. It's always a fun time. Joey's wife always shows up, Debbie, great. And Alicia Weatherford, his secretary, is always there. And it's just it's a fun environment. And Joey, he I know you're not shocked here, but he thrives in this environment. He genuinely loves it. And it doesn't matter if his team has won the week before or lost it before. It's like his social battery just is full by the time he leaves, because he just loves the people and the situation here. And because I've talked to him at times when after the Wyoming game, I mean, that probably wasn't a lot of fun to show up at Rudy's Barbecue the weekend after the Wyoming game, or whatever it is. I mean, they haven't won every game since he's been here, but he thrives in that environment. And I know you're shocked to hear this, but he's excited. He's excited about his team. He's excited to get the season going. He's just excited. He said it. He goes, I feel like Kenny Perry and my wife Debbie are just downers because they try to bring me down, because I fight them all the time. He goes, I just won't let them. I feel, this is what I do, and I'm going to speak things into existence. But it sounds like Debbie and Kenny kind of are the yin to his yang, or however you want to phrase that. But the teeter-totter type deal. But I always just appreciate his vibe, man, in a deal like this, because he genuinely is. I mean, he's got a healthy quarterback. He's got a running back that, as I asked him, I'm like, if I'm sitting here a year ago, you're probably not thinking that Taj Brooks is going to be here as we're sitting here now. He's like, not a chance, but he's got him. And I think that they're relatively healthy, minus a few guys that are out for this week, and minus Dylan Spencer. And so away we go, man.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point to bring up. Actually, some guys that are back in the mix this year that maybe you didn't anticipate as you bring the previous season to a close. But I know that it's been a really interesting offseason for Coach McGuire and company, as they've traveled near and far to figure out how best to give the Red Raiders an advantage in 2024. Some of that includes conversations with NFL voices. And I mean, just like you would imagine, everyone trying to turn over every rock to find every conceivable advantage as you enter into another season. And we've talked about this a little bit this offseason, the temperature on the seat or lack thereof, however you may feel about that. But I know as you get into this year, and we've also talked about this, we've talked about everything this offseason, by the way. It seems like we've checked off everything on the list. Some of the athletes that Coach McGuire and his staff are responsible for getting to this campus are now in a position to really start to contribute. And not only that, I mean, we could be talking starters in some situations, impact players in some situations. So I don't know if that all just kind of adds up to a different type of pressure, or maybe that pressure just translates to excitement for a guy like Joey McGuire. But there is no doubt now it is his program, it is his team, it is his athletes, it is his names that are going to be out on the field asking to contribute here in 24. So I imagine that's a different kind of feeling than, say, when you arrive year one, or maybe even possibly going into year two.
Yeah, and can I touch on the point that you made about going to see and talk to folks at the next level? Do you mind if we go take it there? Dan Campbell, tremendous Texan, grew up and played his high school football in Glen Rose, Texas, which is just outside the Metroplex a little bit, and played some good football for the Dallas Cowboys. And he is the Detroit Lions head coach. The Lions are rolling these days, if you haven't paid attention. And I think Dan Campbell is a huge reason why. So when you start looking at an offseason and you start thinking about self-reflecting and how do we get better and self-scout and like, man, we need to go talk to people that are better than us at these various things. And in their quest for trying to figure out maybe how to just be better in general, but especially be better away from Jones AT&T Stadium, which I think has been a thing. I think Joey would be the first one to tell you that. We got to be better away from home. He goes to see Dan Campbell. He tells this story during his coach's show last night about going to see Dan Campbell. He's like, man, I got about 45 minutes with Coach Campbell. I had some of his staff with him and everything, but a couple of things that they touched on, which I think was pretty cool, that they have actually executed this, this fall camp and this August. A lot of crowd noise stuff, okay, which a lot of coaches do. They say, well, we're already doing that, and we maybe kind of amped it up and borrowed a few things. But he said one of the things that coaches talk a lot about, but they don't really do, is make practice that much harder than what you think the game will be. And he said, he goes, so, okay, because a lot of coaches, they talk this out and all those things. But he said the way we executed it and the way Dan Campbell kind of talked about it was, he goes, I just kind of picked 45 minutes one day. And he goes, and by the end of the practice, he goes, I had the offense mad at me. I had the defense mad at me. He goes, I'm making up penalties. I'm like, we're scrimmaging. He goes, you held him. That touchdown doesn't count. And like everybody's losing their mind. And the point was, and he never would give in to go, hey, I'm doing this on purpose. The point was, what's next? 1-0. Like, forget about it. Because, when you go on the road, you're going to get screwed at times. It's going to happen. It's the old acronym EAR, E-A-R. Expect, assess, and reset. You expect to get you expect to get screwed. Then assess the situation and then hit the reset button because
By the way, it ain't always on the road. If UT comes to your house, there may be a screwing involved as well. So anywhere, anytime, you've got to just continue to get on to the next snap, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he's really tried to implement some things that, because there's something about a Detroit Lion, Dan Campbell coach team that you just will yourself to victory. There's a toughness. We're not the most talented team. We got this quarterback in Jared Goff that folks didn't want. We've turned him into a Pro Bowler. And it's about smash mouth. It's very old school are the Lions. And I think Joey really lights up thinking about that aspect. So pretty cool stuff that you go borrow from somebody like, and that Dan Campbell would give you some time there. But again, those are two, former Texans and high school studs and all these things, and just kind of hitting it off, talking ball. So that's one thing that I think is important, because it goes back to something we talked about earlier in the week, what Joey said, and Mahomes even pointed it out to his team. Find a way. It doesn't matter how you get to that point or what it looks like getting to that point. Just get to that point. Adapt. Figure it out. And Joey admitted, like, when they first got here, we were kind of maybe too worried about how it looked before we got from A to B. Now we just want to get to B, man. We don't care. And I think Dan Campbell was preaching to Joey about really be hard on your kids during practice, like almost unfairly, because the game will be that much easier and all those things. So I think they've practiced a little bit of that. So we'll see if it pays off.
Kind of reminds me of a show I used to be dialed into. Of course, it's a whole nother level of being hard and being tough, obviously, but it was called Making the Cut, and it had to do with our military service members, and on occasion being broken down to an extent in these preparation routines and practices that, you know, they may never be broken down to in the real field of battle or whatever it might be. But obviously that preparation to take you to that extent and allowing you to understand what your mind can do, what your body can do, prepares you obviously for when those challenges come about in real time. Just want to hedge again and say, not comparing football to military service, but you get the idea and some of the similarities that could be found in there. So that sounds like great stuff. And it sounds like a lot of fun for a head coach, by the way, to just make up a call every once in a while. Be like, holding, coming back.
Well, I mean, hey, referees do it.
Of course.
So why can't the head coach in a contrived trying to frustrate his kids? Military, fascinating that you bring that up.
First, today's episode brought to you by Factor. Fuel up this summer with Factor's no prep, no mess meals, and meet all of your wellness goals thanks to the menu of chef-crafted options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, even Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in only 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. What are you waiting for? Make today the day you kickstart a new healthy routine. With 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you're going to always have new flavors to explore. From breakfast to dessert, you can stay fueled with easy, nutritious options. So go ahead and treat yourself to restaurant quality meals that feature premium ingredients like filet mignon, shrimp, blackened salmon, and much, much more, all while keeping kitchen time to a minimum, since Factor meals are ready in only 2 minutes. No shopping, prepping, cooking, or cleaning up. So head to factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 and use our code LOCKEDONCollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code LOCKEDONCollege50 at factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 for 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active with Factor. Today's episode brought to you by eBay Motors, and eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and keep that ride or die ride on the road, or elevate your car's game to the next level of performance. Superchargers, exhaust kits, LED headlights, roof racks, and accessories of all kinds to fit your style. Whether it's power, speed, or design you're into, eBay Motors has you covered with over 122 million parts to perfectly fit what you need. Just head over to ebay.com/motors now, where you'll always find exactly what you're looking for, and at no risk because of eBay's guaranteed fit. Your part is guaranteed to fit just right every time, or your money back, keeping you burning rubber and not burning cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to keep your ride or die on the road and moving your life forward at ebay.com/motors. eBay guaranteed fit, only available to U.S. customers, eligible items only, exclusions do apply.
Military, fascinating that you bring that up because also on the show, I mean, we love Isaac Smith on this show. We love Ben Roberts on this show. We've talked a lot about Josh Kelly on the show. We've talked a lot about Baron Morton on the show. John Curry's gotten plenty of mentions recently. Bryce Ramirez. I'm trying to think of some of our pet cats, if you will, some of our favorites on Locked On Texas Tech. You know where I'm at with Jacob Rodriguez, though. I know where you're at with him. There's a lot of respect because I think he missed 7 games last year, and every game though that he started and finished, you won 4-0. And I think that was a huge blow in the Wyoming game when he's recovering a fumble, mind you, and just takes that, injury and kind of got twisted up, and it just you felt the air come out of the balloon a little bit, and you're just trying to figure life out on defense, and it just kind of, I don't think anybody realized what you had missed. Jacob was on the show last night, heading into his junior year. He gets this year back basically because he didn't play in the UT game last year, so he's still got 2 years left to play, and you just hope he's around here for those 2 years. But I get into a conversation with him last night. He's one of 2 guys on the team that's married, so he's in a different place in his life than he was a year ago if I were to talk to him. And we know what kind of player he is. I will tell you that he's going to wear the green dot, so he's going to be the guy that Tim DeRuyter is talking to. Heck of a compliment to Jacob Rodriguez, and well-deserved. I know Ben Roberts wanted it. I'm sure Bryce Ramirez wanted it. I'm sure they've got green dotted helmets off to the side just in case, Jacob's like, okay, y'all have it for a while. It was fun. But let me tell you about Jacob Rodriguez, the person, and who he is married to, because she was at the show last night as well. And this is just like fascinating real life stuff that we think of these guys as football players, and there's some interesting backgrounds here, folks. So Jacob Rodriguez married a high school sweetheart of his, Emma. Emma went to old Wichita Falls High, and Jacob Rodriguez went to Wichita Falls Rider. Okay, so they didn't go to the same high school, but they knew each other in high school, and there was some church that they went to, the same thing and all that. Anyway, long story short, Emma, she goes to West Point. She has graduated from Army. She is a helicopter pilot. She is now based in Alabama getting Blackhawk training. Will soon be moving to Kansas after training is over. But I told Jacob, I'm like, dude, you have a cool job, like playing middle linebacker for the Red Raiders. But I mean, you married up, buddy. But thank you, Emma, for your service.
Yes.
But I was like, this is wild, man. I mean, but these are 2 really good people and Americans that, because we focus on Jacob, the football player, a lot, but man, what a stud. And he's going to now tackle on Saturday night a former high school teammate of his in Jed Castles that he was throwing touchdowns to a Wichita Falls Rider. So great conversation with Jacob, but congrats on the marriage. Congrats on marrying up. You and I, Calvin, we did the same thing. Thank God.
Oh, yeah. Thank God.
Thank God I didn't marry down, but I thankfully married up. You did too. But how about that for his spouse, man? That's legit now. I mean, that is legit.
Oh, yeah. When I hear a certain tone in my wife's voice or see a certain twinkle in her eye, I'm standing at attention, and I can't imagine what it would be like if she was a Blackhawk fighter pilot. So best of luck to Mr. Rodriguez as he navigates that path through the remainder of his life. But, yeah, I think about Jacob as one of the particularly interesting individual stories, aside from this knowledge you've just given us, but just in general from a football sense, rolling into 2024, because we eventually last year got to see what kind of player he can be. But how much of last year did we spend not knowing anything about him, when the last time we saw him, he was making a play, as a matter of fact, game-changing kind of play. And he's got to be one of those Red Raiders that is, I would imagine, most anxious to get back on the field, hopefully have some better luck from a health standpoint, and really live out what he set out to do, and be a Red Raider that can make an impact and contribute in a big way. I know everybody's anxious and excited, obviously, when you get to this time of year, but he's got to be one of those near the top of the list that is ready to get back out there on Saturday night.
Yeah, I just remember as the season finished up last year, it was – you get to the portion of the schedule where we have UCF at home left, and then in Austin, he can play one of the 2. You're trying to get bowl eligible and all that. And boy, they looked at that UCF game, and they pushed all those chips in the middle of the table, and number 10 was one of those chips. And they got it done. And then he's able to play in the bowl game as well, because you got bowl eligible and played great in that game. I think I had 6 or 7 tackles. And I just think he's one of those magnets to the ball, man. And listening to Tim DeRuyter talk about it, he said when I first got here, he's like, "Hey, we're bringing Jacob Rodriguez in. He's a former high school quarterback. You'll love him. He'll play some good defense for you." And Tim was like, "I had lots of reservations, like a high school quarterback." He goes, and as soon as Coach Blanchard and Joey told me about him, and when I finally got to meet Jacob and started talking to him, I was like, yeah, he's answering my questions correctly. Now I just need to see it. He goes, and then he started doing things like on the field, and I knew he kind of picked it up. And it was that quarterback in him that was allowing it to click. And so I pretty fun success story is what this is, from a guy from Wichita Falls Rider that was recruited by University of Virginia to play quarterback, that has come back here to be one heck of an interior linebacker. And I do hope you get 2 more years out of him, man, because he is fun to watch play, because he is smart. And we know how good that interior linebacker group is. And for them to, for Tim to say, "Hey, you're the one that I want to talk to every play," is pretty heavy steps.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Let's wrap up our conversation today talking about some of what he'll be seeing along with Ben Roberts and everybody else across the line of scrimmage. First, today's episode brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. 5 Hour Energy fixes tired fast. Whether you have a long list of tasks at work or a bundle of do-it-yourself projects to tackle at home, take a 5 Hour Energy shot so you can cover everything with energy to spare. If you're like me, you've always got a lengthy list of things to get done around the house. So when you're getting your supplies for any project, don't forget the most essential one, a 5 Hour Energy shot. 5 Hour Energy shots give you the feeling of alertness and energy you need to get in the zone. And that's why 5 Hour Energy is the brand hardworking people like you have trusted for over 20 years to give them the alert, energized feeling they need to get through a busy and hectic day. And you always know where to find 5 Hour Energy shots, right at the cash register at nearly every convenience, drug, and grocery store nationwide. And even better, you can stock up on money-saving multi-packs to make sure you never run out of delicious, energizing 5 Hour Energy shots. And right now, if you go to 5hourenergy.com, that's the number 5hourenergy.com, and get some 5 Hour Energy today, you can use our promo code LOCKEDONCFB. That's LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. Hurry, because this offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions and does not apply to subscription orders. Boost your day and boost your life and get in the Get It Done zone by going to 5hourenergy.com today. Let's wrap up our conversation today talking about some of what he'll be seeing along with Ben Roberts and everybody else across the line of scrimmage. A lot of our conversation as it relates to Abalene Christian and Keith Patterson, given obviously what his background is as a football coach, has been based defensively on what they might be dialing up. But some pretty interesting stuff happening offensively for Abalene Christian as they roll into this with a quarterback that is familiar to us, and they roll into this with an offensive coordinator that is new to them, but trying to trot out a scheme that is familiar to Red Raiders. Let's take a listen to Abilene Christian head coach Keith Patterson talking about those things as they head into the 2024 season.
Well, I don't care what division of football it is. I mean, it takes a quarterback to win, and we have great confidence in Maverick. Yeah, I mean, he threw for almost 2,000 yards a year ago, and I really like the leadership that we have with our new offensive coordinator, Rick Bowie. We're going to be wide open. Our players have great confidence in our system. We've had our best spring.
So obviously, Chris, when you're talking about trying to go back and see what a team might have done in a prior year, I guess at least for ACU, that's sort of thrown out the window from a tech defensive standpoint because they've got a new approach, but maybe it's not a total foreign thought as to how to defend something like what they're going to be rolling out on Saturday night.
Yeah, we talked a lot about Keith on the show last night. Joey and Tim DeRuyter have both known him for a long time. Heck, Tim DeRuyter almost hired him at a previous stop, and it just some things. But Maverick McGuire obviously was last here in 2021, I guess, and he's been at ACU in 22, 23, and then now 24. How about this, though? So in that time, he's going to have played under 4 different offensive coordinators, technically.
Wild. Yeah.
And 4 different systems and terminology. And I think what ACU is talking a lot about is this is Air Raid 2.0. Okay. What does that mean? But this is their term. This is what ACU is kind of called it. Like, what does that mean exactly? Well, everybody's kind of morphed and tweaked what Mike used to do with the 10 personnel with the 4 wide and the 1 running back. I think ACU, I mentioned Jed Castles earlier. I mean, ACU is going to use a tight end. They're going to run it a bit more. And it is spread, but it's similar to what, Tech does on offense and so many others, in that you do incorporate a tight end and all those things. But maybe there's some of those air raid principles in there. But Rick Bowie is just somebody that's new there, and I don't really know what you can expect, but I tell you what Joey expects and what Tim expects is that they feel like that ACU will do a lot of the things that they're seeing in practice already, with different personnel groups and some of the same general principles. Because Zach Kitley does not run an air raid offense; it's very different from that. However, there's some principles borrowed from Cliff and Lincoln Riley's got his own take on it. I'm sure Eric Morris has his own take on it. Sonny Dykes and Dana Holgerson and all the folks that have come through here that are coaching or were coaching offense all have a slightly different twist on everything. Seth Luttrell, who's the OC at Oklahoma. I mean, I could keep going on and on. It's wild to think about.
Yeah.
But because Rick Bowie spent some time at University of Houston under Dana Holgerson and at West Virginia under Dana Holgerson. So that's why I bring some of that up. So it's a guess, but I think you have a pretty good feel for, ultimately kind of what they'll do. But yeah, Air Raid 2.0. And and then Keith on the other side, I mean, he's going to call it for the first time. And he's typically shown to be a 3-man front, which dictates, some different things with the way your offensive line is supposed to block it. But, could he, show up and do something different? Sure. That's the beauty of the opener, though. I'm sure Texas Tech will do a few things that they haven't maybe shown previously prior. And also while keeping in mind that I don't want to show everything that they're going to do to Washington State either for game 2. So anyway, that's kind of the game within the game. But hey, man, I'm just ready. I'm ready for pyro. I'm ready for the horse to run out of there. I'm ready for some new voices in the stadium. I'm ready for a new stadium. Okay, portions of the stadium. I'm ready for. They're going to send up these drones in the middle of this 3rd and 4th quarter. I mean, that's one of the coolest things ever. I'm not trying to be soft about it, but I do. I'm like, that's really damn cool, man. Because I'm not smart enough to figure that out. I'm ready for all of it, and I hope that the rest of and it's sold out. And I'll tell you that Joey, in his team meeting on Thursday, Joey's interesting that he does this, and he does it more often than people think, and I think it's pretty interesting. Joey will apply pressure to not only his coaches but his players a lot on purpose. A lot of times we, home plate is 17 inches, and a lot of people in life try to widen it or shrink it depending on whatever fits their narrative or whatever they're trying to aim for. And I'm talking strike zone, or whatever, but just an analogy for baseball that I'm trying to translate over into football. So a lot of times coaches will try to remove pressure or remove distractions from their team or whatever to make things easier, make things more comfortable. We just talked about Joey took a lesson from Dan Campbell. Was like, no, man, go out there and be a jerk one day and just call all kinds of penalties and frustrate everybody. And the lesson is, hey, man, get over it. This is how it's going to be. Figure it out. And what he did at the end of the team meeting, I think on Thursday, was he made sure to tell his team, folks, this game is sold out. Yeah, we play for each other and for all the guys in this room and staff, but you also play for these people. Like, go do something that excites them, because they've paid their money to show up and watch you. And we know it's not going to be perfect. We know the referee's going to make a bad call or whatever, but remember why we're doing this. And yes, it's for each other, but man, because Joey took his staff into that South End building before it was done because he wanted them to see the magnitude of what was being built there, because he wanted them to feel that pressure.
Yeah,
he wanted them to feel like, dude, your office is really nice. It's really big. You want to stay in here? Figure out a way to get your team or whatever your responsibility is to get us over the hump. So I love that about him because he doesn't shy away from that. And I think that was in one way kind of just very subtle, to his team to kind of point it out. The full house is expected here. Let's operate as such.
Yeah, I remember, hearing about and talking about that part with the coaching staff and saying this is here for you. So live up to the expectation. And I think so often you can find in a locker room, which is useful, a message of us against the world. But I think a reminder that the us also involves us, WTX, LBK, 806. We're all in this thing together. So I think it's great to add that sort of to the pile of motivation, obviously, that they've got, I'm assuming, ample amounts of by this point in the offseason. Everybody is raring, roaring, and ready to roll. So looking forward to getting it started coming up on Saturday night as Abalene Christian will be in town. Chris, appreciate the time as always. And I mean months worth, like the offseason time. So thank you for that big pile of time. It's finally come to an end, and the next time we visit, we'll be reacting to a football game having been played and hopefully getting ready for an opportunity to improve to 2-0 for Texas Tech, Joey McGuire, and the Red Raiders. Enjoyed it, man. Enjoy the ball game on Saturday night, and we'll see you for the next round.
Can't wait, man. Cannot wait. So appreciate it. Thank you to everybody out there that has kind of ridden this offseason with us. This season will go by fast and all those things, and we'll be here every step of the way. But we appreciate, hopefully we've at least passed some time and entertained a bit throughout the long summer months. But they are over, man. We are almost into September. But yeah, football is here, man. And I know you and I will enjoy it thoroughly. And we appreciate everybody out there enjoying it with us.
Yeah, no doubt. And something even possibly just a blessing from above, approaching something resembling damn near football weather on Saturday. So should be a beautiful day in the LBK as we kick off the 2024 campaign. Thanks for being out there. Hope you'll get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. Appreciate those everydayers out there mixing it up in the YouTube comment section or otherwise. Keep them coming as we are just getting started. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks for your time, and we hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.